It's an uneven playing field. The vocabulary, the processes, the guided construction project were built by and for the people who design and build, not you. Keep that in mind throughout whatever you do, and do never be afraid to question, to ask. You say, this is a dumb question. There are no dumb questions. It's your money. Always remember that. It's your money. It's your investment. So you want to be sure that you're making the right decisions. So before you even do anything, you want to understand that. And additionally, healthcare projects alone are very complicated, some more complicated than others, but there's more than just nuances to them.
Welcome to Medical Money Matters, the podcast where you can find experts, answers, and resources so that you can achieve mastery over the financial and business aspects of your practice.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Medical Money Matters podcast. I'm your host, Jill Arena. One of the biggest investments most physician owners will ever make is building or remodeling their medical practice. Yet for many, it's unfamiliar territory. They may build one or two facilities during their entire career, while people they're hiring do it every single day. That is why I'm excited to welcome my guest today, my good friend, Jim Lampus, co-founder of Norwest Contractors and DesignLab. Jim has spent more than 30 years helping organizations bring complex construction projects to life with extensive experience in healthcare facilities, tenant improvements, medical office construction, and guiding clients through every phase of the building process, from early planning and design through construction and project completion. What I appreciate most about Jim's approach is his emphasis on planning. He understands that successful construction projects aren't won by submitting the lowest bid. They're won by asking the right questions before construction even begins. The more due diligence that's done during the planning and pre-construction phases, the fewer surprises, delays, and costly change orders you'll experience once the project is underway. Today, we're going to talk about what physician owners should expect from their contractor, how to evaluate bids beyond the bottom line price, why pre-construction may be the most valuable phase of the entire project, and how investing time up front can save enormous amounts of money, frustration, and disruption later. Jim, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Jill.
I'm excited to have you here. Let's jump right in. Most physicians build or renovate a medical office only once or twice in their careers. So what do you wish that every healthcare leader understood before they even begin interviewing contractors?
It's an uneven playing field. The vocabulary, the processes, the guided construction project were built by and for the people who design and build, not you. Keep that in mind throughout whatever you do, and do never be afraid to question, to ask. You say, this is a dumb question. There are no dumb questions. It's your money. Always remember that. It's your money. It's your investment. So you want to be sure that you're making the right decisions. So before you even do anything, you want to understand that. And additionally, healthcare projects alone are very complicated, some more complicated than others, but there's more than just nuances to them. In the current environment, we see contractors who had been very busy building multifamily developments are now suddenly doing healthcare. They need the business. We understand that. But do they have the experience? So you don't want to be anybody's first in a lot of things in life, and especially their first healthcare project.
Yeah. We had that experience with a client where an ambulatory surgery center was a first for an architect, not a contractor. Yes. And that was my face too. I thought, oh my, here we go. Yeah, this is, you don't want a contractor or an architect that's learning on your dime. That's, like you say, medical has got a lot of nuance and is probably some of the most complex design and construction of any industry. High tech. Close, but yeah. And I love the insight about the fact that it is the physician's money. And we talk, obviously, on a podcast called Medical Money Matters, we talk a lot about money. And the premise of the podcast itself is that we don't teach all of these things in medical school. So there is no, as you're going through medical school and residency, there is no unit on what you do when you need to build a new clinic. There's no training on construction or construction management. That's a good lead in into the many of the conversations you and I have had are around the importance of pre-construction planning. So talk us through a little bit about what happens during that phase and why it's so critical to the success of the project.
This is going to assume that it's an existing building, not new construction, because that's a whole different, the process varies there.
Yeah.
Decades ago, we started doing what we now term know your building. What does that mean? It's a building assessment that basically says, okay, this is a certain kind of practice. Here are their infrastructure needs. What do the existing look like? Very simple in that respect, but it's a very detailed process. And we go through, it's not like a home inspection thing. That's not what it is. It's like, okay, how is this going to support your practice, your needs of your practice? And as we develop, this isn't going to work, that's not going to work. How are we going to vent this procedure room? Because we can't go through the roof. We've got to make sure that we'll let us go through the wall. There's a lot of different things that all depends on the existing building. So what we'll do with that information is we will compile it and we will price it. And here are the estimates. And I call this really the cost to get to the starting line, because everyone wants to go to the starting line and start. No, these costs are typically hidden. They're not rarely part of the plans. And the key to this is making sure it is done before you sign to buy or lease. Because at that point in time, you have leverage to go back to the landlord and say, you know what, this is going to cost me an extra X $1,000 because of X, Y, and Z. What can you do for me? So the brokers we work with on a regular basis know this. We don't negotiate it. We say, listen, I need a rationale. Here it is. A recent project for a doctor was $90,000 in hidden costs.
Wow.
And it took the broker a while, but they were able to cut it in half and get an extra $45,000 in tenant money. Now, so it still cost her $45,000 more than she would have planned to have spent. But on the other hand, it's not a surprise. That is now part of her budget. Yeah. So it's not where she says, oh, I can buy this and this because I have an extra $40,000. No, you don't. So that immediately comes out of your budget. Now, if the numbers are too high, and sometimes they are, or the landlord or seller isn't willing to negotiate, sometimes they decide it's not worth it, or it is. It's all up to them. Our goal is to provide all the information for them to make a decision in their own best interest, because we're not deciding, we're just explaining. And rather than, these are the things that usually turn up as a change order sometime during the project. Nobody told it. It wasn't on the plan. And you're going, you're my contractor. Aren't you looking out for me?
Yeah.
And that's what it is, looking out for your client.
That's one of the things I think you do best. And it's always fun to watch you as you're working with clients. You and I had one particularly interesting one over at Northwest Portland several years ago. That was,
I remember.
You really made a huge difference for that full entire practice with the pre-construction, the know your building, because that was a funky building. And we could use another word other than funky too, but it was...
Yeah, there's been somewhere we just look and say, please don't go there.
Don't go there. Yeah. And that's an important point to make too. And that is, I think sometimes when people are looking at a space, they sort of get myopically focused on one building or one space. And reality is, until, like you said, until you sign that lease or until you buy the property, you've got all kinds of options, including walking away. And sometimes we get far into the process and it doesn't feel like you can walk away, but always an option. Right up until
it's your money, it's your future. We did real quick. We had a wonderful client years ago who was in love with the building. It fit all of her needs and location and everything. So we did a really thorough assessment. She was sobbing by the end of it, but thanking us, because she had no idea this building wasn't built there. It was moved there, all these issues.
Ooh.
And she kind of goes, thank you. And a year later, they found another building. We did the assessment, had some issues, but nowhere near what the other one did. And they lived happily ever after.
That's a great cautionary tale too. And it does get emotional for people too. Like they lock in on a space and they can envision themselves there, and it's, oh, okay, this is going to be great. And yeah, it's good to keep one eye on the checkbook as you're going along. So that's a good segue. One of the biggest frustrations that I hear from practice owners is the project started at one price and then ended at a completely different price. And there was all these change orders. Let's talk a little bit about some of those are truly unavoidable, but others seem to happen because certain questions were asked in the beginning. So from your perspective and what you've seen, what are the biggest causes to preventable change orders?
First is doing the building assessment. Going back to that first example, okay, we could have not done that, priced it out, and she would have seen $90,000 in change orders.
Yeah.
All right. That's a big first step, which is really the best first step anybody could make. Absolutely. The other thing is plans are rarely perfect.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's not an appreciation for spending a little bit more for more details. And then on top of that, there's things that a contractor, if they're really studying the plan, going, oh, all right, I see a roadblock here. This is, again, before you start. You go back, client, designer, architect, whomever. Hey, we've got this issue here. Here are some suggestions. Do these work for you? Is there something else you'd rather do? Let's do it now. So we may take a little bit longer up front, but we don't want to solve problems during construction. Inevitably, something pops up, but a lot of times it doesn't really cost any money. We're trying to find out what these costs are. Let's get the true number now. And one thing that's always kind of hard to tell a prospective client is if it's not in the contract, if it's not detailed out, even if a contractor says, oh, I've got it all covered.
Yeah. Do they really? Yeah. And is it, how much do you want to hang on the handshake? I think you're doing a great job of just outlining something I see play out over and over again. And that is that when you're going into a construction project and you put that out for bid, most owners are sort of naturally attracted to the lowest bid. And I think you're outlining beautifully why the lowest, the bid that might be significantly lower than everyone else's could actually wind up being the most expensive build in the end, just for all these reasons that we're talking about. If they don't do their homework, if they don't do their diligence, you're kind of going into a construction project blind. And
Jill, I'll tell you one reason that's common. Construction's expensive.
Yeah.
It's a big investment. And trust me, I have made this mistake. I won't even tell you how many times, obviously not in construction, hopefully, but where it comes down to, it couldn't possibly cost that much.
Yeah.
And then I start thinking, what the heck do I know about this or that?
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not saying blindly accept any number, but it could.
Yeah.
And what we're really trying to find out is, and this is why you want a contractor up front, because it's okay, this or this that you're talking about could be really expensive. Why don't we make that an alternate? Why don't we just do the first budget on what you need? I don't care what X, Y, and Z. You can have whatever you want.
Yep.
But what we want clients to know is, okay, here's what you need. And you got over here the wants. But let's find out what that costs first. And then what you do, it's very simple. Say, okay, here are all these other things that I really want.
The nicer artsy light fixtures, or the really plush carpet,
Exactly.
the marble countertops. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, what you do is, here are the prices. How much additional money over what you need do you wish to spend? And it's things like that we almost do without thinking, but somehow it's not really part of construction. But I will tell you, I've had clients go, I really wanted blah, blah, blah. But you were right. I said, we were right. We're just playing sheriff. We don't let you all of a sudden run out of money and having to ask mom and dad halfway across the country that I need an extra $50,000.
Yeah.
So those decisions we wanted to make with a very clear head.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. A physician wouldn't go into a major surgery without a plan. You always know why you're doing surgery, and you have some idea about what's going to happen and how that's all going to go. So same with doing any kind of remodel or new construction as well. As you think about this, and given all of your years of experience, what types of due diligence should a contractor complete before presenting a proposal? What should physician owners expect to see in a really well-developed estimate?
Well, with us, even before we may give them an additional estimate based on rough order of magnitude. Okay, clinics of this size will usually run X dollars a foot. All right, and that's fine. But along with that would be what I know your building assessment finds. So one plus the other. We will also, for jurisdiction, we will also put in a timeline. And this is something that a lot of people don't think about. Have you signed your lease? Not yet. When's your free rent start? When does it end?
Yep.
And then in a nice way, well, you're working in this jurisdiction, and as we look at how the whole thing works with the plans and the pricing, the submittal, you're going to be paying rent before you're open for business.
Yeah.
And that's something that maybe it's not a contractor's job, but we feel a responsibility to say, this isn't going to line up. And that becomes a hidden cost. And so that becomes one of those things where it's shared with your broker who's negotiating on your behalf.
Yes.
Like, sorry, September 1 for a start date doesn't work. And they've got the reasoning.
Yeah.
This is all this process takes. We're not opening a retail store. And so we've had brokers come back and go, God, we're aware of that. We got the extra 90 days.
Yeah.
That could be a hidden cost. Now I'm paying rent and I'm not open.
Ouch. Yeah.
But we're talking about due diligence. It's always starts with, even before we're questioning proposals, is qualifying the general contractor. And being very direct and just saying, what steps are you going to take if I hire you to protect me against change orders?
Excellent.
Be very direct.
Yeah.
Very direct. And then do your referencing. And I will tell you this, if you ask the contractor, Norwest Contractors included, you will never get a bad reference in your life, because nobody who had
Our
a problem.
business people, yeah, they're going to give you people that are friendly.
Oh my gosh. One thing that I would say, if somebody really wants to, is go to a contractor website and you go, oh my gosh. And first of all pictures are beautiful because you can't tell the imperfections from the photos.
Yeah.
And you go, God, that looks like a really big project. And there's no quote from the client. Sometimes we get them, sometimes we don't. But I would take the initiative of saying, gee, I saw your photos online. Were you happy with your contractor? Were they on time? Were there additional costs that popped up that no one was aware of?
Yep.
And again, so when you give them the list, I always kind of laugh, because it's like, okay, I didn't have mom and dad on it, but everybody else.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I would want to vet that way for sure.
It's a great opportunity for physicians to talk. They don't get to hang out in the doctor's dining room as much in the hospital anymore, because not a lot of physicians round, or not as many as in previously. But anywhere you network with other physicians, asking around, if you have a colleague or a friend from residency, or with somebody that refers to you and they just built a new building or they just remodeled, ask, who'd you work with? Did you like them? Were your business people happy with them at the end of the day? So.
Yes. Did you trust them at the beginning and trust them at the end? Because if you don't trust them, and again, I'm kind of flipping the narrative. You've got $1 million project. They were low. Do you trust them? I don't know about that. But whoa. You just put $1 million out there.
Yeah.
You want to trust that person, and it has to be based on something. If you do enough asking around, you kind of find out what a culture's. And there is, I'm not naming names because I don't know them, but it's clear that there's a contractor that's going to say, all right, you gave me the plan. That's all I'm going to bid.
Yes.
Anything else is an extra, which they're upfront about.
Yeah.
I'm under no obligation to make you aware of this, that, or the other. I could, or maybe I didn't bother to look, or maybe I didn't know. It doesn't matter. You asked, give me a number on this plan, and that's what I've done. And there's all kinds of wiggle room. And is it a race to the bottom, or do you really want to know what you're buying, what it's going to cost, what you need, all those things? You want the control.
Yeah. And I would say most physicians really appreciate having a plan and having some control over what's happening with their money, especially with a big project. So
Yes, and beating that plan to death, I think, is one of the next best thing you can do.
Yep.
Because you look at it and you go, oh, it looks wonderful. Take it back to the team.
Yeah.
Let's have some follow-up meetings. Gee, oh my gosh, so-and-so brought this up. We never thought of that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And it may take more time, but geez, the last thing you want to do is get done and say, oh, God, I know.
Yeah, I would
What-
like, well, pretty well every medical facility I've been involved in designing and building, I could walk into today and tell you which walls I would move because you think that you're good at blueprints. But I had one years ago, one of the first clinics I was involved in the design of, and one of the physicians, when we brought it back to the team, to your point, one of the physicians turned out he was an architect in a previous life or something
Oh my
because
gosh.
he redrew everything. And I just thought, oh my goodness, it's going to take us 5 years to get a plan everybody agrees on. But he had some really great insight. There were some things that we said, no, we're probably not going to do that. But he had some really wonderful insight and he really had an impact on the design. And then the health system went and built that footprint in a lot of different places. They were really pleased with the overall layout of it and kind of how it all flowed. But yeah, you never know who's the latent architect in your group until you take the plans back and say,
I'll just say sometimes I'll go through a project. Yeah, everything looks great. And they go, this floor plan was genius.
Yeah.
What they overcame. And I'll look at those and say, Jim, you better look at the, I know, but did you see how this all works?
yeah,
I just love efficiency. Oh my gosh, I get goosebumps.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
silly. I love it.
you and I could have long conversations.
Oh,
Yes. Efficiency in a healthcare space. And healthcare facilities are really different, as we said earlier, from commercial. And so let's spend a little bit of time just sharing with the audience, what are some of the unique considerations? There's workflow, there's patient flow, like you and I just said. There's also medical equipment, there's extra building code requirements, infection control, like air handling, all that stuff. What
oh.
talk about that for a medical group and somebody who's thinking about building out a new space.
It's obviously it's different if it's ground up because all those things, like if it's a surgery center, that's going to include the air handling equipment. Everybody knows it's all going to be medical requiring, all those other things, because you're going to go to an architect that does that for a living.
Yep.
When it comes to purchasing and repurposing an existing building, that's really where you run into these things. So, like for instance, if a surgical group says, hey, we want to buy this building and turn it into a 2-off ASC, what kind of things do we look for? If it's a retail building, we're going to say, we better look at that roof. I don't know if the roof's going to be strong enough for the air handling equipment.
Yeah.
Oh, got to take of that. And then we know that are we need additional power? It's going to come down to just about everything. What is it going to cost? So we're talking mechanical, electrical, plumbing, all these things. How is this all going to work? So it's a little bit of a maze and it always varies by building. We looked at one for an ASC and it was an old concrete building. We're thinking, oh, this might work. Oh my gosh. Not even close.
Wow.
Because the idea would be, can we buy an existing building, retrofit it, and still be less than new ground up? And there should be a pretty good difference. You should be saving a significant amount of money by doing that if the existing building was correct. And this one had so many issues.
Wow.
That as we got into, we're going, oh my gosh, this is run as fast as you can.
Wow. It is amazing, isn't it? A building can look really good on the outside.
Oh,
Great creative repurposing of a structure. And then you start to think about, when you have the right people with the right expertise, you start to think about what does it take to actually turn this thing into a medical facility.
does the ceiling height support equipment that might be, right?
Yeah.
If we're talking about a surgery center, what type of equipment? Because this is only 8-foot ceiling and
Yeah, frequently
a lot of
not.
considerations.
Yeah.
It's just homework.
It's a lot about planning and homework. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about practices that are thinking about remaining open during a remodel. Talk a little bit about what kind of planning should occur and all of the things you could do to minimize the disruption to everyone.
I always refer to that as an art.
That is good. I've lived
And I
through
don't have that art, but I do not have that skill. But we have some terrific people who've been there who understand it really well. And first thing you want to do is, this is what we want to do. You want to understand how the work flows. You want to talk to staff. You want to say, all right, I understand you want to stay open.
Mhm.
Are there any days, are there any long weekends available? Do you close for spring break?
Yeah.
Any of those things. And then what happens is you want to present a phasing plan. And usually with us, it's like, okay, it could be, sometimes we've had 3, 4, 5 phases, which is kind of mind-boggling. But again, that's all about execution. The other thing too is that we're starting one soon where owner owns the building, expanding into vacant space to expand the practice.
Mhm.
And we got it down to 2 phases with asbestos remediation.
Wow.
And again, because we thought it was 3, we worked with the practice, worked with the physician, talked to the staff, put on our thinking caps, and we go, we got it. Here's how it's going to work. And it's, aha. So that's why I say it's really kind of an art that I do not have.
Huh.
Sometimes it will be just like, one time it was the be a dentist, and we go, this is going to be several phases.
Mm-hmm.
This was a general dentist. So-and-so down the block was an orthodontist. Oh, yeah, nobody was. He's got some extra chairs. She went and rented the chairs while we gutted her office and got it redone, and she didn't have to live through that and saved, even after paying to rent the chairs, she saved real money.
Wow. Yeah.
It's nice to have something you probably wouldn't normally get, but
Yeah.
you just have all the cards on the table.
There could be some other creative solutions where you don't have to be in the space, because the remodel goes a lot faster if you're not trying to do it in phases. Yeah. So just minimizing the disruption. Jim, you and I could talk medical construction all day long. I know this. And I want to thank you for being with me today. One final question, and that is, if you could give every physician owner who's contemplating some construction one piece of advice before they sign a construction contract, what would it be?
Avoid the surprises that cost you money and lost revenue. And that's what I said earlier. You want to ask, you want to be able to trust this GC, and what have you actually done to level the playing field?
Yep.
And some of that is, have they walked you through your mechanical, what you are getting, how many zones you have? Do you have an understanding of all these things? And again, it's your choice. You're the owner, but you have to have the choices. And if you don't have the choices, that's when you go, yeah, I saved money, but it's not what I wanted.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was, if it's not in the contract, you're not getting it. The typical contract includes what's called a schedule of values, which is what people don't really understand. It's not what they think it is. It basically just lists out what the work is or what their estimate is. But it's up to, so you could say, ask for the plan and contractor clarifications. You want to look for that, which says on electrical. Yes, we're providing X number of duplex outlets. We're having medical wiring here. We are providing like 4 HVAC zones with how many rooftop units. All these things. Oh, is it new ductwork? Or are we reusing ductwork? All those things included right under the line item with the cost on the right side. And the more they disclose, the more you understand. And again, that should be going over. Explain this to me, because I'm an doctor. I don't deal with mechanical units other than the staff telling me I'm too hot or too cold, which is something that you really rather not hear, especially if you spend all that money.
Exactly.
So those are my thoughts on that.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. And I love that if it's not in the contract, you're not getting it. That is excellent advice. Thank you again, Jim. We're going to make sure that we have all your contact information in the show notes, and so folks can get a hold of you if they have further questions. Thank you again for everything you shared today. It was great having you.
Jill, always a pleasure. See you soon.
Before we wrap up, if you're listening to this and thinking, it's not just one thing, there are multiple parts of my practice that could be running better, I want you to know that you're not alone. Most physicians were never taught how to run the business side of medicine, and yet you're expected to lead complex, multi-million-dollar organizations. That's not a personal failing, it's a systems gap. At Healthy Practices, our operational and strategic consulting is designed to help you close that gap. We work alongside physicians and leadership teams to bring clarity to the business. Everything from workflow and staffing models to financial performance, growth strategy, and long-term planning. The goal is to help you move from reactive and overwhelmed to structured, intentional, and in control. For some practices, that means solving immediate operational pain points. For others, it's about stepping back and building a clear strategy for sustainable growth, profitability, and leadership development. And often, it's both. Because when your systems, your people, and your financial performance are aligned, everything gets easier. Decisions become clearer, teams function better, and the day-to-day stress starts to come down. So if you're ready to take a more intentional look at how your practice is operating and where it could go next, I'd encourage you to reach out and start the conversation. You can find more information in the show notes or at healtheps.com.